In this module, we'll be covering VisionREZ structure framing. We're going to start with the wall framing panel, and we need to take a look at some of the settings before we get ready to add the framing. Under the settings, we have inventory, which is grades of lumber or material that we're going to be using, and then lumber is the type of lumber that we'd be using in the framing. We also have subcomponent catalog, which is our stud packs, our corner conditions, our conditions where our interior wall meets an exterior wall. What application would we use there? And there's many types to pick from. Default subcomponents is using the subcomponents at a specific location. Framing detail is a detail of what we want to see. Do we want to see wall sheathing and bracing? If we don't, we just uncheck it. If we want to see everything, we'll leave it all checked. Sheathing, seam, and backing is just where we put a stud at two seams of vertical or horizontal pieces of OSB sheathing. And then we have our piece name editor. Wherever you see a piece that you do not call by the name that you see listed, if you call the header cripple another name, you can double click on it and change it as needed. That goes the same for subcomponents. If you don't call this a post, you can double click on it and give it the name that you would use. Opening framing covers our openings for our small, medium, and large load bearing and non-load bearing. It's prescriptive in the way that it works. It takes the header of a specific opening and applies that header. So you have full control of what header goes in what area for non and load bearing walls. If you decide to have a raised header, these would be your dimensions that you would go with. You could also do the drop down and pick a different material. Sub seal, same thing. If you wanted to do it a different way than the traditional way of framing, you can change it here, and throughout the entire drawing it will always frame this way. Floor topping and add-on, that's more for commercial or apartments, and we're not going to cover that today. Multi-hole openings, this is just merging of headers. So if we have windows that are side by side that are within 4 inches of each other, they both get the same header. If we have two different sides of windows within 4 inches, they would get the same header. If you have two windows that are same size but have different elevations, depending on how far the elevation is, you may choose to use one header, or you just could uncheck this and have it have two headers because it is such a low difference. Or you can have that on. Say OK. Framing wall data. These 4 walls are the only walls that are in the project showing, so these are the only ones that are listed. So if we want to see all wall types in the entire project, we could check that and then scroll through here and see that we have quite a few walls that already have some framing attached to them. So I'm going to uncheck this so we can just see the ones that we have, and each one of these are assigned. If we take a look at the exterior, we can see that we can change the header types, and if it had a different grade, we could add that, and that would be at the first where we're doing our inventory. So we can change stud grade, we can change on-center spacing, we can change the arrangement, we can pick a different type of treated material or two treated material depending on where your location is. And we have the ability to add fire blocking. If we pick this, it would look just like this. We could tell it what type of material and at what height. So with that, we need to check 2 more places, and that would be edit beam data. This is going to take care of our framed area in the back on the porch. It's really considered as how this framing connects to this wall. So if we take a look at this, we see that it's going to be at the very top plate, so it's going to be even with what the wall is. The materials, we're just going to put two header types, same shows together, and that will be our framing for that area. If we wanted to add a pony wall on top of that, we could. We just need to put the correct material inside there so it would populate. Subcomponents, this is just where a parallel, a non-parallel, what type of beam we're going to use. And the end post. So what are we going to put inside the wall? We're not necessarily going to put a post. I think a 3 stud pack would be just fine. So triple stud, say OK, and then we'll say OK from here. And if we already know ahead of time, if we have a window that's going to be needs a header that's a little bit larger, we can go to top of opening, and from here we can just select on the material and say 1, and we want to go up to a 2/10. Say OK. Go to the fletch material, we'll say 1, and then we'll go down to the 7/16 to the 2/10, say OK. And for this one, we'll do the same thing as 1, and pick the 2x10 material and say OK. And we'll say OK again, so it'll apply it to that wall. So now when we frame this, this will show the 2x6 and this will show a 2x10. Let's go ahead and place a post as well. Want face of core. So I'm going to pick and say OK. And I'm just going to put it in a random location right here, and let's have something pretty big so you'll be able to see what's going on here. Don't think we need kings. We'll put 4 studs there. Alright, so it even labeled it for us. So now that we have everything set, let's go ahead and do the frame walls. We're going to highlight everything, say finish. All right, we have everything framed. Let's take a look at in 3D. For one, we did put a stud pack in there. You see those sitting. Our beams in the back are framed as told. And then in the front, we have a 2x10 versus a 2x6 header in this location. And this is color coded because we have a filter put in, and this is inside of the VisionREZ template only. This covers the VisionREZ structure framing for walls. There are some additional tools that we'll cover later in another video. Thanks.